Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, picture this for a second. You're hiring a nurse to care for a loved one right in your own home. Or maybe you're stepping into a healthcare facility yourself. You want absolute certainty that the professionals treating you are fully qualified, right? Well, before making those crucial decisions, verifying a nurse's license is absolutely paramount. And in Pennsylvania, this process is actually pretty straightforward once you know exactly what to do and where to look. So let's just dive right into this step-by-step tutorial on verifying a nurse's license in Pennsylvania. We're going to make sure you have all the essential info right at your fingertips to make safe, informed choices.
It really all boils down to one fundamental question. Trusting a loved one's health to a stranger is incredibly high stakes. How do you know for sure they are who they say they are, and that they actually hold the credentials they claim to? We hear stories all the time about the severe consequences of failing to verify credentials. We're talking everything from major legal liabilities for employers to, most importantly, compromised patient safety. Honestly, seeing a name tag or a nicely framed certificate on a wall, that simply doesn't cut it in today's healthcare environment. You literally need to go directly to the primary source.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll cover the stakes and the authority behind them, check out the nursing landscape, navigate the PAL system, talk about multi-state licenses and nurses, decode those search results, and finally, wrap up with some legal considerations. Let's walk through every step of this critical process.
Section 1. The stakes and authority. Before we go digging into the databases, who actually makes the rules here, and who holds the official records?
In Pennsylvania, the ultimate boss is the State Board of Nursing. Operating under the Bureau of Professional and Occupational Affairs, this 12-member governor-appointed board is your authoritative source for license verification. Their whole mandate, their primary reason for existing, is to protect public health and safety. They do this by setting educational standards, issuing credentials to qualified applicants, and when necessary, taking disciplinary action against professionals who fail to meet ethical or quality standards. So when you look up a license, you are essentially querying their official, legally binding records.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Pennsylvania nursing landscape. Who exactly are we looking up?
To understand the sheer scale of what the board actually manages, get a load of this number, 301,897. As of June 2021, there were over 300,000 active nursing-related licenses in Pennsylvania. That includes nearly 230,000 registered nurses alone. I mean, with a workforce that massive, a highly robust digital database is absolutely required to keep track of everyone's status, their renewals, and their disciplinary histories. Now, when you search that massive database, you're going to encounter a few primary license types. The most common is the registered nurse, or RN, who assesses patients and provides direct care. Then you have the licensed practical nurse, or LPN. But you'll also see advanced practice roles like the Certified Registered Nurse Practitioner, that's a CRNP, and the Clinical Nurse Specialist, or CNS. It's incredibly important to know which specific license type you're actually looking for, because the scope of practice, what they're legally allowed to do, is vastly different for an LPN compared to a CRNP. The actual educational pathways for these different licenses vary wildly, which is exactly why those distinctions matter so much. An RN might have an associate or bachelor's degree, and they have to pass the NCLEX exam, right? But an advanced practitioner, like a CRNP, has completed a master's program and earned specialized board certification. These distinct training pathways make specific credential checks completely vital. Let's dive into the core of today's explainer with Section 3, Navigating PALs. I kind of like to think of this as Pennsylvania's local filing cabinet. When you land on the official homepage for the Pennsylvania Licensing System, or PALS for short, you're looking at the state's centralized primary source database. The best part? It is entirely free, it's totally public, and it's updated daily. Whether you're an employer or just a private citizen, you don't even need to register for an account to run a basic search. So let's talk about how to actually execute this search step by step. First, just get yourself to the PALS website. On that main page, make sure your search type is set to person search because, keep in mind, this database handles facilities too. Next up, enter your search criteria. If you have it, enter their exact license number. If you only have a name, put in their first and last name. Hit submit, and then just review the results list that pops up. From there, you just click on the professional's name to open up their detailed profile. It really is that simple to pull up the public record.
But, okay, here is a massive pro tip that'll save you a ton of headache when troubleshooting common issues.
Always try to search by the license number first if you can. Why? Well, out of 300,000 nurses, there are a lot of folks with the exact same name. Plus, PALS requires the exact registered name. If an applicant accidentally put their last name first years ago, or if they're practicing under a married name but registered under a maiden name, or even if they just have an unconventional hyphenation, a simple name search might come up completely blank. Save yourself the trouble, just ask for the license number.
Moving right along to Section 4, Multi-State Licenses and Nurses. This is a relatively new and honestly super exciting development in Pennsylvania nursing that adds a whole second database to our toolkit.
For the longest time, Pennsylvania strictly issued single-state licenses, but things have evolved. Back in September 2023, nurses holding compact licenses from other states were permitted to practice in PA. And on July 7, 2025, Pennsylvania fully implements the Nurse Licensure Compact, or NLC. What this means is eligible PA residents can now apply for a multi-state license, allowing them to practice in over 40 other compact states. It's very much like how a driver's license works across state lines.
Now, because of this compact, you actually have two databases to consider. Think of PALS as your local system. It's what you absolutely must use for Pennsylvania's single-state licenses, advanced practice roles like CRNPs, and real-time PA disciplinary actions. Nurses, on the other hand, which is operated by the National Council of State Boards of Nursing, is the national network. You use nurses to verify multi-state NLC licenses or to check for multi-jurisdictional practice restrictions. Basically, if you aren't totally sure which state issued a travel nurse's primary license, Nurses is the tool you're going to need.
Which brings us to Section 5, Decoding the Results. Because finding the name is only half the battle. Interpreting the data correctly is what actually keeps patients safe.
When you pull up a record, the single most critical field you're looking for is the license status. Let's decode these real quick. Active is exactly what you want to see. It means they're licensed and currently eligible to practice. Inactive means the nurse is not currently practicing, maybe they retired or took a break, but it can be reactivated. Now, expired or lapsed is a massive red flag for employment. It means they missed their renewal deadline, which in PA is typically every 2 years, and practice is strictly prohibited until it's renewed. Suspended means disciplinary action has temporarily prohibited their practice. And revoked, that means the state board has permanently terminated their license. The big takeaway here, never assume an expired license is valid just because the nurse's name showed up in your search.
Here is a really vital nuance. If you are hiring a certified registered nurse practitioner, verifying just one credential is not enough. Advanced practice certificates in PA are separate legal credentials. To legally practice, a CRNP must maintain an active, unencumbered base registered nurse license and their specialized CRNP certificate. One active record doesn't automatically grant advanced practice authority. You literally must verify both of them in PALS. So as a best practice for secure verification, you need to look well beyond just that active status. Ask yourself, does the exact license type match the job description? Like, are you looking at an RN license when you actually need an NP? Always check the expiration date so you know when they're due for renewal. And crucially, look for disciplinary indicators. The PALS system will flag public disciplinary actions, suspensions, or consent orders. If you see discipline flagged, most state boards publish formal action documents for you to read through. Oh, and if you're an employer, it is highly recommended to periodically re-verify these credentials to catch any mid-year disciplinary updates.
Finally, Section 6, Legal and Ethical Considerations. Because handling someone's professional livelihood and a patient's safety definitely comes with some serious responsibilities. There's a vital legal distinction here you really must understand. The data you retrieve from PALS or nurses is for general reference in public safety. But a state board lookup is not a consumer report under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, or FCRA. If you are a healthcare facility or an employer making formal hiring, firing, or insurance decisions, you cannot legally rely on just a DIY web search alone. For formal employment screening, you absolutely must use a licensed FCRA-compliant consumer reporting agency to conduct a proper background check. And that brings us to the end of our guide. With the right tools like PALS and nurses, and the knowledge of how to decode those statuses and navigate multi-state licenses, are you ready to confidently verify your next hire? I really encourage you to share this explainer with other caregivers, facility managers, and healthcare professionals who could benefit from having this knowledge in their back pocket. As a final reminder, while every effort has been made to provide accurate and up-to-date information today, you should always consult the Pennsylvania State Board of Nursing or legal professionals for specific guidance or legal advice. This explainer is designed for informational purposes only and does not constitute professional advice. Thanks so much for joining me, and stay informed out there.